All right, we'll be going live here in just a few minutes. We'll give people time to get in, and we'll be off and running. Okay, we're going to be going live here in just a few minutes, letting some folks get in, and we'll get going here. Okay, we'll give everybody a few minutes. Hello, Dr. Vickers. I saw you pop up. Good to see you. Glad you're on. So tonight, or the theme for this month for our CEO members, has been about water, and in general why water is so important. But the CEO members are watching a two-part video that I made. It's probably about, I don't know, 45 or 50 minutes total. We broke it into 2 different weeks, to learn about water from a medical device, because the type of water you drink can make a profound difference in your results. So, any water is great water. Can be better than, certainly, I should say, can be better than the other things that a lot of folks are drinking, like soft drinks or, sweetened drinks, even juices, even fruit juices can be very high sugar content. So those are not always the healthiest things that people can use. So we want to talk about tonight why water is important, why there are differences in different types of water, and why I recommend and only have for the past, over 20 years for sure, only drank water from a medical device in Japan. So we will start with, I'm trying to help people from the medical community to the pharmacy community to the general public really understand health and wellness and understand how to be optimally healthy. And that's the whole concept behind the program that I created called OptiURX, because I want to help people really understand what it means to be healthy, teach people that you can be healthy, and you can do this the majority of the times without these dangerous, potentially dangerous prescription drugs with a myriad of side effects. And so we can have, we can look great, we can feel great, we can have lots of energy, we can avoid being sick when all these different viruses and things are out there. The bulk of the time, if we will just take care of our bodies and if we'll just do the right things. So that's what we're trying to help people accomplish. That's why our CEO membership, the OptiU CEO membership, is so important. People get a video every single week, and I hope that y'all are enjoying them. I'm hearing great feedback. We're covering a lot of topics. May is going to be hormones, and that's going to be, I think, a lot of fun. So we've started working on the content for the hormones because there's so much information, just like there is about water. Most people think, well, water's water. Well, I'm going to tell you that that's absolutely not true. And I'm going to tell you that I have probably literally thousands of people, if not tens of thousands of people, who have experienced this water um, through our prescriptions plus pharmacies, through a lot of people buying Kangen units from us and putting them in their homes, just a myriad of different ways. I have taught Kangen water classes from from here in my home in North Carolina all the way across to Colorado and a lot of places in between. And so it's been a lot of fun to travel and teach people about a water that makes a massive difference in their health, their wellness, their fitness. Seen some really exciting things happen when people started Kangen water, with losing fat, with skin conditions improving, with diabetes improving, stomach issues improving. So like your IBSs, your colitis, your diverticulitis, lots of things like that we've seen improve. But just for general overall health and for performance, and performance can mean for the elite athlete, or it can mean performance for you in your everyday life as a mom, a dad, an employer, an employee, whatever it is. We want to feel good and we want to be able to accomplish what we want to accomplish. So that's what this water helps us do. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So why do we need water at all? Why do we need water to begin with? Well, our bodies as adults should be about 70% water. And the researchers say that about 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. So if the body is designed to be 70% water and we don't have enough water in the system, well, obviously things are not going to work like they should. We're not going to have the energy that we should have. We're not going to be able to burn the fat. We're not going to get rid of toxins like we should. Our skin is not going to be plump and hydrated like we want it. We're going to have brain fog when we're dehydrated. We're going to have muscle weakness when we're dehydrated. We can cramp. So there's a myriad of reasons why we need to be well hydrated. And not only is 70% of our body should be water, but certain parts of our body should be large amounts of water, even larger than 70%. So, for example, the liver is about 96% water. And, the liver is our major detox organ. And one of the things that our liver desperately needs in order to function and to be able to continue to detox our body is water. And it needs good, clean, quality water, free of toxins, free of prescription drug metabolites, free of fluoride, free of chloride, free of all these things that can be in typical waters. And we also need to think about the fact that our kidneys are about 83% water. And one of the leading causes of kidney failure is simply dehydration. So we're going to talk about those kind of things. Even our muscles are 70% water. So if we don't have enough water, then the muscles will start to fail. So we really need to think about being hydrated for our brain, for our kidneys, for our liver, for our muscles, for really every part of our body to function properly. So those are some of the highlights of why we would need to make sure that we're hydrated on a daily basis. And then one of the other things that is so important that water does is it helps provide oxygen to our cells, to our red blood cells. And we need oxygen in order to make energy and to have the energy to do the things that we want to do. So water plays a critical role in all of these things. It plays a critical role in our body's ability to regulate temperature. So we need the water in order to cool off when we need to cool off, and that's why we would sweat. Is so water helps regulate the highs and lows of our body temperature. Water makes up a major part of our eyes. So it can help vision stay sharp if we can stay well hydrated. I mean, I can go on and on. I won't, but I just want you to get the importance of having water. And when I say drink water, I mean water. I don't mean tea made with water. I don't mean lemonade made with water. I don't mean a soft drink that has water in it. I mean, we need to drink water. As a matter of fact, if you're drinking anything with caffeine in it, such as, a caffeinated tea, a caffeinated coffee, a caffeinated soft drink, caffeine is actually a diuretic. So caffeine actually will promote dehydration. So if we're thinking, well, my tea's made with water, but it has caffeine in it, that actually can create less hydration in the body and not more. So we really want to think that through and think about the things we're doing. So when I talk about one of the recommendations that I always talk about and make, and we'll talk about it right now, is you should drink at least half your body weight in ounces daily. Now that means of just water. Now that's a bare minimum. That's not enough, but that's a minimum that we encourage people to do. So, for example, if you're like me and I weigh approximately 150 pounds, so I would want to drink a very bare minimum of 75 ounces of good quality water every day. Now I will tell you that I drink much more than that, but that would be a bare minimum of water that I would want to drink in a day is 75 ounces. If I can do closer to an ounce per pound, that's even better. So that would be 150 ounces a day. And I still drink more than that, but we'll talk about some reasons why as we go through the class tonight, why I would want to drink even more than that. But the very bare minimum, half your body weight in ounces daily. So 200-pound person, a minimum of 100 ounces, so you can just do the math from there. It's pretty easy. No matter what your weight is, you want to do that. But water has a very unique ability to help our body detox. And often people are carrying excess fat in their bodies from toxins. So toxins are fat. They have an affinity for fat. So the body will store these toxins oftentimes in fat. It will form fat for these toxins because if you didn't grab that toxin out, sometimes these toxins can be very damaging, right? So the body has an ability to try to protect us from these toxins by storing these toxins in fat. And once you store them in fat, it's harder to get rid of them. So that's why we talk about drinking an alkalinized water that is oxygen rich, that is what we call microclustered, which we're going to talk about, because it has the ability to go in and grab these toxins out of these fats and help us eliminate them through our urine mainly, and also through our stool. And that's something else that's so important about drinking adequate water and quality water, is it helps keep our bowel movements regulated. So sometimes if we are dehydrated, the colon can't get enough water in, and then the stools will harden, and it makes it harder for folks to go eliminate, through the colon, which is obviously another problem of building up toxins, creating havoc in our system. So the bottom line is, the number one thing that I want you to think about is drink half your body weight in ounces every single day, no matter what. That should be your minimum. But when you start to understand that there are differences in different types of water, and so the CEO members have gotten the first part of that video, and they'll get the second part this Friday. We put a video out every Friday. They will really start to see that all water is not created the same. So I don't remember exactly all types of water that I compared the Kangen water to in the video, but certainly I used Dasani and Aquafina. I always do those because those are the top selling waters. I think Dasani is still the top selling water in America today. And you'll find that it's not, certainly not the best choice. It's not as nearly as healthy to drink Dasani water as it would be to drink this alkalinized, oxygen-rich, microclustered water. So one of the things that we look at is the alkalinity or the acidity of different waters. And almost all bottled waters are going to be acidic. And we don't want to be acidic. Believe me when I tell you that we don't want our body to be acidic, because acidity leads to lots of issues, okay? Acidity can create bone loss because the body has to overcome the acidity by pulling the minerals out of our bones. It'll pull calcium monophosphate out of our bones. And there's actually some research that says that 75% of US women who have osteopenia or osteoporosis, so the beginning of or full-blown bone disease, are not calcium deficient, they're acidic. And so their body is having to survive. It's doing what's necessary to keep the person alive, but at the cost of taking some of their bone minerals out. And so one of the things that we talk about with drinking not alkaline water, that's a bad term. This is alkalinized water. It's much different than going to the store and buying alkaline water, because you can make water alkaline lots of different ways. You can put cyanide in water and it'll make it alkaline. Doesn't mean that any of us would want to drink that, but you could say that was alkaline water, and it would be alkaline if we tested it, but it doesn't mean it would be healthy. So there's a big difference in alkaline water and alkalinized water, and we need to keep these distinctions as we go through these things in our minds. So not only can an acidic environment in our body create the bone issues that we've talked about earlier just now, but it can also lead to cancer. Cancer is an acidic condition. And in 1931, Dr. Otto Warburg, who was a German scientist, he discovered, and actually won 2 Nobel Prizes in medicine for his discoveries. One of his discoveries was that cancer, and basically all disease, is what he said, cannot survive in an oxygen-rich, alkaline environment. And so cancer was actually found to be a metabolic disease way back in 1931 and not a genetic disease, even though we still treat it as a genetic disease, not successfully, by the way, with our standard of care treatments here in America. So if we can keep our body alkaline, we can not only reduce the risk of all diseases of bone loss, but we can reduce the risk of cancer, which is the number 2 killer in America. So we need to really think about how do we alkalinize our body. One of the greatest ways, if 70% of our body should be made up of water, if we're not dehydrated, is to drink an alkalinized medical device water. And that's what we do. Now, it's a medical device, I should point out, in Japan, not in the United States. So I want to make that distinction. It is not a medical device in the United States. It is an approved medical device in Japan. So just to clarify that. So we have the advantages that we've talked about our skin, our hair, our nails, our body fat, our body composition, our blood sugar levels, our liver function, our kidney function, our eyes. We have all those things. And then we have the prevention of bone loss. It can help with the prevention of cancers, and it can help keep our body, keeping our body alkaline can really help keep down inflammation. And inflammation is another root cause of all the major diseases that we see today. So, you know, again, drinking water from a medical device is what I like to call a no-brainer. Like, if we have access to it, we have the ability to purchase one. We have the ability to come in one of the Prescriptions Plus pharmacies. You should be drinking Kangen water. It is, I believe, the healthiest drink that any of us can use. And again, that is what me and my family consume um, for our water content. Everywhere we go, we take Kangen water with us. That's non-negotiable for me. That's what I'm going to do. So now, please, I see some questions coming in, and that's great. Continue to send in any questions you have as we go through. Well, just let me stop right here. This is a really good one because it kind of correlates with what we've been talking about. And the question is, do you have a recommendation for daily water intake, which we've talked about for just in general purposes, but she goes on to say, for athletes, for pregnant women, and for breastfeeding moms? That's a really good question because I know this person, and she is all three. She is an athlete. She's pregnant. She is pregnant, and she has been breastfeeding her previous children. So, really good question. And we've had this discussion. So I think she knows the answer, but she wants me to make sure I tell it to everybody else. I'm sure is why she's asking. So thank you for asking this, Heidi. I appreciate it. So the recommendation of water intake for an athlete, and when I say athlete, I don't. It doesn't have to be somebody that plays professional sports. If you work out on a daily basis, if you are active, if you do CrossFit or high intensity training or run or walk, I'm gonna call that an athletic event, and so therefore you are an athlete. One of the things that I talk about and have done lives on and do lots of videos for the membership is we need to be walking at a bare minimum every single day, 10 minutes twice a day, bare minimum. More is always better. Weight training is always better. But I'm going to call all of those people who are doing any of those types of exercises athletic or athletes. So that that 1 ounce for half your body weight in pounds does not apply for these athletes. They need to be pushing above an ounce per pound. So again, I weigh 150 pounds. I would drink 150 plus ounces a day because I do work out at least 6 days a week, typically 6 days a week. And so when you're working out, your body will have the demand for more water and need more water, especially in the summer when you're sweating. That's definitely going to increase our demand. Or if you work in the heat, that's going to increase your demand. So I'm more along the lines of 200 ounces a day plus in the summer, maybe even bump that up depending on how much I sweat in my workouts or, outside working or whatever I have to do. So great question. Athletes should definitely be an ounce per pound of body weight or above. Pregnant women should definitely, absolutely, positively make sure they're staying hydrated. Not that women shouldn't always stay hydrated, but definitely when they're carrying another human being in them that is going to, by the way, I said we're as adults about 70% water. That baby that's growing inside of a woman is about 90% water. So it is really important for pregnant women to get good, clean, healthy, adequate amounts of alkalinized, ionized, oxygen-rich, microclustered water. So for the pregnant woman, obviously they're typically gaining some weight, again, with the baby. And so they should probably be closer to that 1 ounce per pound of body weight, like we talked about with the athlete, because carrying a baby for 9 months may be more athletic semen on the body than any workout any of us could do. So it's a definite thing, to make sure that they're getting plenty of water, good quality water, good clean quality water. And for the pregnant women, I would encourage them to make sure that they are trying to drink a water that avoids fluoride, because fluoride can have a very negative effect, on the development of the baby's brain and mental capacity. This is well documented in research that high levels of fluoride, decrease, IQ. So we wouldn't want the pregnant woman drinking just heavily fluoridated water. So that's a side note. The same thing with the breastfeeding mom. One of the things that creates, less, production, milk production is the word I'm looking for, is being dehydrated. Breastfeeding moms need lots of hydration. They need lots of nutrition, obviously, like the pregnant woman, like the athlete, like all of us. But they really need to make sure they're hydrated if they want to be able to produce milk and produce milk in sufficient quantity for their baby. One of the things that I have found very, amazing and beneficial is when we see women that drink fresh water from a Kangen medical device. They're putting, typically they're pumping and having to put milk in the freezer, breast milk in the freezer, just because they have an uncanny ability. And now most of these women are using my recommended supplements during their pregnancy and during their breastfeeding also, but they really produce lots of milk, and I've seen it over and over and over with hundreds of women, including my own wife, who can, when they were of the breastfeeding time, they were able to produce plenty of milk, even excess, in case they're gone, or trip or something, they can have some excess put away, which can be nice, or maybe they're not feeling good, and whatever can happen. But it's a really good thing. Again, that would be the ounce per pound or more, for the pregnant women, the breastfeeding moms. So that's a really good question, Heidi. Thank you for bringing that up, because I may not have, probably definitely wouldn't have thought of going there until you brought it up. So thank you for that. And again, ask any questions as we go through, and I'll get to them before we finish. So we've talked about the ability of water to help with different disease preventions, but one of the unique things about Kangen water, or a couple of the unique things about Kangen water, people get hung up on alkaline water, and I've already told you there's a difference in alkalinized water and alkaline water. If we can naturally process water to be alkalinized, that's much different than taking any water and adding something to make it alkaline. Totally different concept. So let's remember that again. I think it's important to point out. But a couple of the things besides the Kangen water being alkaline, which we've talked about why keeping our body tissues alkaline versus acidic is very important for different diseases, if not all diseases, for inflammation, for cancer, for all these things, for bones. But Kangen water is what we call a microclustered water. And y'all, I know it may sound totally ludicrous, but Kangen water is a smaller water molecule. It actually splits the water molecule and makes it a smaller water molecule, so that our bodies are able to absorb it much more efficiently, much more effectively. It's able to penetrate fat cells, and that can help not only flush toxins out of our body much more efficiently, but it can also help us burn fat more efficiently. And one of the major things that Kangen water can help do is because of its smaller water molecule size, it can more readily cross the blood brain barrier and oxygenate and hydrate the brain more efficiently. So, for some people, they really notice a big difference in their mental capacity, their ability to think, or their ability to remember when they start drinking Kangen water from this medical device that can get across the blood brain barrier and can increase the hydration and the oxygenation in the brain. So that's the other important part of what Kangen water can do. It creates hydrogen in our water when we alkalinize it and ionize it through this medical device. And this hydrogen can then increase oxygen. And the research shows that fresh 9.5 pH Kangen water can increase the oxygen in our blood by 64.9%. Now, when you start to think about how important oxygen is for every process in our body and how we need plentiful oxygen to keep our immune system working, to keep our heart working, to keep our brain working, to keep every cell in our body working, we need plenty of oxygen. Just drinking the right water can increase it by 64.9%. That's really an important thing that we need to know and we need to keep in our minds. And the professional sports teams figured this out years ago, and the vast majority of Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NFL, the National Hockey League, they make these teams that pay these guys hundreds of millions of dollars in some cases. They make Kangen water available for their athletes, and I'm sure that it's in some colleges at this point, but I'm not as familiar with those as I am certainly with. I mean, one of the first organizations to pick up on Kangen water and make it available in all their training facilities was the New York Yankees. And if you watch the documentary, I can't remember what it's called, the Derek Jeter documentary where he was retiring. He They're throwing a birthday party for him one day in the clubhouse, and you'll see the Kangen machine back on the sink where they're throwing this party. And my kids were smaller when this happened. My boys were, and they were just so excited that they saw on the documentary, they saw the Kangen water machine that they were drinking from and that I've been telling them about, forever. So it was pretty cool when they called me and they were like all excited that they saw the Kangen water machine in the documentary about Derek Jeter and the New York Yankees. So most of the professional sports teams do it. And I always tell people, if it's good enough for the $100 million athlete, then maybe we ought to consider it being good enough for us. There's other things that I teach a lot about in my OptiU CEO memberships of things that we'll call them quote elite or the people in the know, the things that they do that they don't tell us about. So my job is to help hopefully inform you of these things so that we can know how to do these things also. All right, so here comes another question. So, okay, how do I buy a Kangen machine? Can I move a Kangen machine? Are there different options? Really good question. And yes, through the years, 20 plus years again, I wouldn't want to say how many I've sold, but I've sold hundreds at the very least of Kangen medical devices for people to put in their homes. So yes, you can buy a Kangen machine. You can the easiest way is to contact me and I will get it done. It's 5 minutes worth of paperwork. You can contact me at 855-OPTI-U. That's 855-678-4968. I'll be glad to help you. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. Can you move a Kangen machine was the next part of your question. Absolutely. I mean, you can absolutely, this is Johnny asking this question. Yes, you can move a Kangen machine, no problem. I if I'm going somewhere, for a week or even a weekend, I mean, or 3 or 4 days, I'm going to take a Kangen machine with me and hook it up wherever I go. It's pretty simple. Now there are different options, though. However, that's the third part of your question. There is a machine that is designed to be installed under. It's called the under the counter SD501. It's what's called under the counter SD501. Now that one's not meant to be mobile. Now, if you were moving, if you were selling your house and moving to a new location, you could move it then, but it wouldn't be like where I can just unhook mine in 3-4 minutes and put it in the bag or in the car and take it with me and hook it up in 3 or 4 minutes at the new location. So it depends on what you want to do. There are countertop units, there are under the counter units. Under the counter unit is not made to be as mobile as a countertop. But yes, you can buy one. Call 855-678-4968 and I'll help you. You can definitely move it. Depending on which one you get will determine how easy or difficult it is to move. And there are even some other options, but that's the main things that you would want to know, I think, Johnny, on that. So if you have more questions, let me know. So thank you for that. So as we are thinking about water, one of the main things that we find in municipal waters and we find with bottled waters, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but almost all bottled water is just from a tap. It can say, spring water or artesian, whatever water. But when they study it, it's basically almost all of these things come from tap water. And I'm not saying that that's bad. What I want you to understand, though, is that water supplies, municipal water supplies, are laden with chemicals. And those chemicals can be very harmful to us. Some of the things I've already mentioned, like chloride or chlorine, fluorine and fluoride, bromide and bromine. All these things can be very damaging to our bodies, to our brain, to our IQ, it can create havoc, right? And so if you live in a municipality and have that type of water, you can get a water report. I think they're supposed to supply you with a water report once a year, I think is the minimum. And I think it will shock you if you will actually sit and read and look at that water report. So one of the things about a Kangen medical device is that it removes a lot of these toxins, a lot of these things that they tell me they put in there to protect me. So one of the things that is so good about drinking Kangen water, and one of the things, especially like I say, I think we all should be concerned with what goes in our body. That's why I only talk about eating the cleanest food, taking the world's best nutritional supplements, drinking water from a medical device. Everything that goes in us and on us is super important. And the decisions that you make starting today will determine what you're like. We replace every cell in our body about every 7 years. So it will determine your health over the next 7 years. So the decisions you make today will determine what you'll be tomorrow and beyond. So I'm a big proponent of putting the cleanest, the best of everything in and on my body. So there's a question here. Does Kangen machine filter the heavy metals such as mercury, lead, and so on, fluoride and arsenic? If so, let's see. How often does filter need to be applied? Okay, great question, JJ. So yes, Kangen machine does filter heavy metals such as mercury and lead and so on. And it does get some arsenic in the pre-filter. The fluoride is a really small water molecule. So it doesn't necessarily filter it because Kangen is not a filter. Now the Kangen machines, the Kangen medical devices do have a pre-filter But the real beauty of the Kangen machine is through the ionization process. And I'm not going to get into exactly what ionization is, but ionization allows the Kangen machine. There's surgical grade titanium plates coated with surgical grade platinum in these machines, in these units. And that can bind and grab some of the things that you're talking about here. And that will actually, when you're making Kangen water, if you've never seen a Kangen machine, never been in a pharmacy, never been around one, what will happen is you have water coming out of a white hose. That is what we would typically drink. I'm talking about drinking water now out of this unit. And there's a gray hose that is also running at the same time. And it's taking a lot of these things you're asking about, JJ, and putting them down the sink. So yes, it does take a lot of these things out. That is part of the question. The other part is how often does filter need to be replaced? Well, in the pharmacies, because we're doing such a high volume of water, we replace a filter a week. But for most households, they replace a filter a year. We're doing 600-800 gallons a day in the pharmacies. So that's a different story. But in the general household, it's a filter a year is about average, and that's $160 to replace your Kangen filter. For me at my house, I also installed, and you have to be very careful and talk to me before you do this if you have a Kangen machine, because you can really mess yourself up. I installed a pre-filter that will actually take out well, I shouldn't say all the fluoride, but the bulk of the fluoride before it ever and the bulk of the mercury, lead, arsenic, and so on that you talk about, JJ, before it ever gets to my Kangen machine, so that preserves my filter even more. And the beauty of the unit that I have, and one of the major concerns I have with the toxicity of municipal waters and well waters, is prescription drugs. So it's something that I talk about a lot, is that it may surprise you to know that the municipal water cleaning systems, filtering systems, do not take out, they are not designed to take out prescription drug metabolites from people who are on, let's say, a Prozac or a statin drug for cholesterol, or a blood pressure drug, or a psychiatric drug. Our municipal water systems are not designed to filter these metabolites out. Now, I think as a 21st century pharmacist, and if you've read my book, that's a huge problem, because the average prescription drug has 398 side effects. So I don't want to be drinking what I think is good, clean water, and it has fluoride and lead and arsenic and mercury and chloride and bromide and all these toxic chemicals in it. And then on top of that, I have people that are obviously on prescription drugs. Over 50% of America today takes at least one drug a day. And now they're urinating. It's going into the system. It's not being filtered out. And then I get the metabolites of that drug. So I take a step beyond my Kangen machine. And again, I use the only one that I'm aware of that is proven to take out those prescription drug metabolites that so many people are now using. Now, again, if they will come through the OptiU membership and join, we're able to help lots and lots, thousands upon thousands, if not tens of thousands at this point, get off their prescription drugs by making the right lifestyle choices based on the 5 pillars of the OptiU program. So I hope that answers your question. So these toxic drugs, these toxic metabolites can be in the water. And I believe the latest research showed that about 74% of all municipal water supplies had prescription drug metabolites in the actual drinking water. So we don't drink, we don't cook, we don't use that. We only use Kangen water. We only wash our veggies in Kangen water. And there's again, whole reason why we would do that, and how much better it cleans, and how it'll take water um, oil-based pesticides and herbicides off of our fruits, our veggies. It will really clean the vegetable much more efficiently than tap water. There are actually some researchers who showed that washing your vegetables or your fruits that have these oil-based pesticides on, because you think about it, they're not going to go out and spray every time it rains. They spray on these toxic chemicals and they're there. And by the way, these are hormone disruptors, these herbicides and pesticides that are put on these things. And you actually, the researchers have shown you don't clean the fruit or the veggie with this type of water that has these oil-based pesticides. You actually clean the water. You actually draw some of these toxic chemicals that we're talking about into that fat, into that lipophilic herbicide or pesticide. You can actually draw out some of the chemicals that are attracted to it into the fruit or the vegetable, and end up, maybe, if you look at the research, making it more unclean, more full of toxins than it was before. This is a really good question. Thank you for asking this, Jennifer. I heard people can feel worse before they feel better when they start drinking Kangen water. How do I best support detoxification? That is an excellent question. Now, I will tell you that in my experience, it is very, very rare for people to have really much, if any, of a detox. But you ask a really important part in this question. Or in your question you ask, how do I best support detoxification? That's the key to the question. So I've talked about how Kangen water is a smaller microclustered water, and it can grab toxins out of fat. And our body stores toxins in fat to protect us. We've talked about that. So some people are fat because they're toxic. The body is protecting them. If they didn't have the fat to hold the toxins, they could die. In some cases, there's that many toxins in people. So the way you best support the detox is when you use my foundational 4 supplements that I formulated in the OptiURX program. One of the major reasons and decisions that was made in developing these 4 supplements that I believe are foundational for every single person from birth to death is because they, on a daily basis, grab toxins and help us eliminate them. Now, I believe that that's why, with the tens of thousands of people that we've had use Kangen water, we've had a very small handful, that have actually detoxed. Now, I don't think detox is necessarily a bad thing. It's certainly not fun, but you have to understand, when you start to release these toxins that are in the fat, they're called fat-soluble toxins. That's phase 1 detoxification. I'm not going to get too far into this, but I want you to understand why this is such an important question. So thank you again so much for asking. Phase 1 detoxification actually makes the toxins more toxic than they were in the beginning. Now, that's just the process that the body has to go through. Those then can be stored in the fat, and so now they're more toxic than they originally were. But if we can have the nutrients that are necessary to support phase 2 detoxification, number 1, we're less likely to build up phase 1 toxins, and so we're less likely to have to store them in our fat, because we're able to get rid of them through the urine and through the stool. And when we can do that, and if we're going to drink something like Kangen water, and if we have a lot of toxins built up, as we release those phase 1 toxins, we're going to have the nutrients, if we're using the foundational 4, to convert those to phase 2 toxins, which then can be easily urinated and out through the stool and urine. So that is a very good question. It is true. Some people, to answer it really simple, some people can occasionally feel worse before they feel better. But if you support your detoxification with the right nutrients, which is again a big part of the foundational four, you will avoid 99% of that. And you will have more energy and you will feel better. And one of the major things that I want to encourage people to think about here is they ask me all the time, well, how do I detox? Well, you should detox on a daily basis. If you follow the OptiU program, you're taking the right supplements, you're eating the right foods, you're drinking the right water, you're exercising so you're sweating, you're sleeping good, you're detoxing every day. You don't need a detox program. That is the program. That is a daily lifestyle. But these detox plans often don't support phase 2 detoxification. They end up making the person sick. So be very careful about thinking, oh, I'm going to do this detox program. I've done some consultations with some very sick people from their quote detox. And if they're doing these things that the person that designed it really doesn't know what they're doing, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. So very good question. Do you recommend salt and or an electrolyte mixture in your water? It's a really good question. Typically, again, when we're talking about drinking half or more of your body weight in pounds and ounces of water a day, so 150-pound person going to drink at least 75 ounces of water a day. We want that to be water. We want it to be Kangen water. Most electrolyte mixtures, not all, have toxic ingredients in them. So I'm very careful about this. I personally, in the summer, especially in the summer, and again, I work out really hard, I sweat a lot, very active. I do add some electrolytes to typically just one liter or one glass of Kangen water. And I will highly recommend, and I sell and use UCAN, UCAN electrolyte. It's called UCAN Hydrate. So UCAN Hydrate, HYDRAT. Very clean, and it is truly just electrolytes. Lots of professional runners and marathoners and triathletes and people use it, but it's great for us too. And it just helps, if you're like me and water is all you drink, you can have a watermelon flavored water or a lemon flavored water, a berry flavored water, or a pineapple flavored water. I know those four are definitely maybe the only four flavors, but really good. Do I recommend salt? Yeah, in some cases I do recommend pink salt, or real salt's what I call it, and that is the brand, real salt. And again, there's a reason I recommend real salt, and I don't mean as in just generic real salt. I mean as in the brand real salt, because it's free of the plastics that are in so many pink salts or Himalayan salts or sea salts today. Again, we got to be really careful about what we put in. So yes, we do recommend that some. Not real often, but if somebody is on drugs like insulin or those type things, and we put them through our program and get them off their insulin, we'll often need to add some salt to their water, or at least the electrolyte mix for a little while, because high insulin actually causes the body to spit out more potassium in our urine. And when you start to drop the insulin levels, and by the way, the vast majority of Americans today, well over 70%, have high insulin levels. Unfortunately, the medical system's never tested it, which is why I created my own blood panel. And it's a major driver of all our diseases today. But when you start to drop your insulin level by following the OptiU program, your body will naturally go back to its normal way of eliminating in the urine more salt. And so we will often, if somebody is coming off their insulin and or maybe just dropping their insulin naturally, they weren't on insulin, but their insulin can be through the roof. We have to add some salt back. If not, they can drop their sodium too fast. So we do that. And by the way, salt does not create swelling. It does not. High insulin creates swelling because it creates an imbalance of sodium and potassium. Plain and simple. This idea that salt does it is just, it's just It's not the way the body works. And once you understand that, that high insulin creates more potassium to be spilled out in the urine, so that causes an imbalance. It makes the salt look too high in relation to the potassium. And when you have the sodium too high to the potassium, it causes swelling. It's not due to salt. It's due to low potassium, which is due most typically to high insulin. So you just fix the insulin issue, which is easy to do. And well, except for a type 1 diabetic. Let me make sure I preface that. Fixing the insulin issue is really easy, except in a type 1 diabetic. Their pancreas does not make sufficient insulin. So we do recommend it. The salt part, the real salt part, not real often. The electrolyte mixture in a glass or two or a liter or two of your water a day. If you like that, use the UCAN. Really no issues, really good to do. So thank you. That's a great question. Okay. Well, if there's no, I mean, I have another question, but it's kind of probably a good one to end on, which we can do if there's no more questions. But I guess I'll just go on and answer it. So, do you have any recommendations for people that cannot afford a Kangen machine currently? Absolutely. If you're in the area of a Prescriptions Plus pharmacy, come in. We have a membership program. We'd love to help you get Kangen water. If you think you can't afford a machine, they have. We can help you fill out the paperwork. It's very easy. There's no credit check through the company when we do it. You can get interest-free finance, and you can make it very affordable. If you can't find Kangen water in your area that somebody is typically selling, we have a membership, but a lot of people do sell Kangen water. I shouldn't say a lot. You'll find some places that do. Kangen water medical devices are very few and far between, which is sad, but it is true. But if you're near the Prescriptions Plus pharmacies, come in and get some. If you can't absolutely, want to buy a Kangen machine, again, call 855-678-4968. We'll help you. We can help you pay in full. We can help you set up interest-free financing, whatever works, for your situation. But I guess the question maybe, and that's why I wanted to answer it last, is I think the question, and I'm going to make an assumption here. What else can I drink besides Kangen water? Maybe that's where I should. That's not how they asked the question, but if I can't get Kangen water, what else do I do? And I don't have a great answer for you. And just simply because I have tested, again, water from here to Colorado, from North Carolina to all the way to Colorado, and that includes Texas, Ohio, New York, Florida, Tennessee. I don't remember all the states that I've done these Kangen water demos in, but a lot, the Kangen water classes. And I've never found another water, okay, that was an antioxidant like Kangen water, which we didn't get to tonight with all the other things we talked about, that was microclustered like Kangen water, which we did talk about, that was alkalinized and not alkaline. So I don't have a great answer for you, but I would tell you to try to find a water that is, you're not going to find alkalinized water, but you may be able to at least find alkaline water. Now remember, they're not the same thing. You're not going to be able to find a microclustered water. You're not going to be able to find an antioxidant water, but you can try to find a water that is free from a lot of the things that we've talked about tonight, like arsenic, lead, mercury, fluoride, chloride, bromide, those things. And you can try to you can try to do that, and you want it in not to be in these cheap plastics, because that's something else again we didn't get to. But the plastics that most of these waters and drinks in general are in are very toxic. Next month's hormones, and you're going to find that these plastics disrupt. They're called hormone disruptors. So you need to be very conscious of what container the water is in. So we would prefer a BPA, BPA, B as in boy, P as in Paul, A as in apple. A BPA free container would certainly be our preference for what you're putting your water in or what your water is coming in. So I don't have a great answer for you, but I will tell you that a lot of water units that people will try to say, well, I have this unit or that unit, I don't have a Kangen unit. Remember, Kangen is a medical device in Japan. It is different. I tell everybody, if you were buying a surgical machine or a operating room thing, you would go, well, that's probably different than the one I can order off Amazon or wherever, right? So just keep that in mind. But a lot of these waters will take, for example, shoot, I can't think of I can't think of the water, but they take the minerals out. I can't think of the name of the water unit. And when we take the minerals out, we make the water extremely acidic. And extreme acidity leads to lots of problems that we've talked about earlier on why we want to be alkaline: the bones, the brain, the cancer issues. All these different kind of things start to go into havoc in our bodies. Our bodies were not made to have this acidic environment. So just be really cautious that you're not getting one of these waters that is super acidic. And Dasani and Aquafina, I mean, they're acidic, but some of these other waters can be even more acidic, which is even worse. Now, I will tell you that most municipalities, not all maybe, but most, yeah, thank you, JJ, distilled water, that just would not come to me. I do not recommend reverse osmosis. That's the other one I was trying to think of, or distilled water at all. They are, well, you just, if you test them, you'll see. If you've seen any of my classes on that, they can create havoc in the body. So be careful with those things. So we want to think about clean water, but we don't want to, like reverse osmosis is great at cleaning water and taking things out. The problem is it takes everything out. It does not alkalinize the water. It does just the opposite. So we have to, make the best choice we can based on our current situation. But certainly my number one recommendation as the 21st century pharmacist, health and wellness expert, is to find a way to locate Kangen water in your area and purchase that water or whatever you got to do, or contact us and we'll help you get a machine in your own home, which is even better. So I hope that answers everything. Thank you for being here. We're just a minute or two over, and we started a minute or two late to give people time to get on. So thank you. If you need help, if you want to become a member of our OptiU CEO membership, please do so. You can go to OptiU, that's OptiYourx.com. We would love to have you come on as members. You'll get a video every week. You get discounts. You'll just learn a ton. If you enjoy learning about how to be optimally healthy, to feel good, look good, think good, live a long, active life, that's our goal. That's what we're trying to do. So we'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.